episode.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Girl, yes, he did.
Welcome to another episode of Oh No, Girl, Yes, the podcast where we really are talking about girl, oh no, he didn't.
Girl, and he did, and did it again.
He usually did. We are super excited to have y'all back. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And we also have a Patreon page, so you can support us financially just a little bit every month. You get more behind the scenes dish of anything we talk about here because you got to still keep secrets from our mama. All right. I cannot believe we have recorded over 60 episodes of this podcast, and I have never told you this story on the podcast.
2 whole seasons we've gone.
Now, first of all, I got to tell you why this bad date moment was reintroduced to me. But then beyond that, I want to take accountability for my part of having one of the worst dates I've ever had in my life. Okay, because that's all we can do is talk about our stuff and then hold ourselves accountable and be like, you know what? That was going to probably be my bad. All right, this is a couple of years ago. You and I think we're out. There was a guy in a group of guys and we kind of knew mutual friends. And there was this one guy and he had this smile. And I was like, wow, that dude, okay, I see his face. And I think I may have Facebook stalked him and sent him a friend request. And we became Facebook friends and we chatted online. Is that your recollection of events?
Yeah. There
Okay,
may have not been alcohol involved when we met.
May or may not have been alcohol involved, but he's an attractive man. He was more attractive probably that night, but he's a good looking dude. Okay, he lives about an hour and a half away from me, right? In another town, in the same state. Okay, so once we started chatting online, at that time I had a job where I got off at noon every day. And most days I would just come home and take a nap. And so from chatting and saying, oh, we should grab lunch or something, I then made the generous offer to say, you know what, on your lunch break or whatever, I can just be there for your lunch and we can have lunch. You go back to work, I go back home, and you know, I'm grown. I ain't worried about that.
And how far away does he live from you?
About an hour and a half.
Okay.
So, listen, what I won't have you do. Okay, so he picks the place because obviously I don't know the place. And he said, let me know when you're about 20 minutes out. It's about 15 minutes from our office. I'll hop in the car, meet you there. Cool, no problem. 20 minutes out. I say, hey, I'm 20 minutes out. Cool. I get to the restaurant. First of all, it is a chain. But again, this is just a little lunch. First lunch, he's at work. I don't hate chain restaurants. However, if I invite you to my town for lunch, I'm going to try to find a place that you can't get where you live. You know, like just something cute. Even if it's a hole in the wall, you ain't going to get this back home. Again, I can't be around here expecting me from me. So he picks this restaurant. I get there. He's about 10 minutes late. So I want to put a time on the clock. Let's say the meeting time was supposed to be 1:30. Okay. So let's say he gets there about 1:40. We are seated at the restaurant. We have a casual conversation. We place our orders. After we place our orders, he says to me, I have a conference call at 2:00 I'm gonna have to jump on. Now, I told you he got here around 1:40. You think by the time it takes you to chit chat, place your order, we probably easily 1:45-ish, a little past 1:45-ish. So when he says I have a conference call at 2:00, I immediately said, okay, well, this might not have been a good day. You know, you could have just told me it wouldn't. Oh, no. All I have to do is just say, hey, I'm here. And then I put it on mute. Like he worked in IT, he worked in tech. I'm just there in case somebody got a problem, but no, we're fine. So I'm already feeling like, okay, well, this is compromised as hell, but. So 2:00 comes and he dials into the conference call. Yep, I'm here. Presses it on mute. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, well, like, I guess are we talking? Oh, yeah. No, I can tell, Oh, okay, so you can, okay. So he and I start talking about whatever, and then it was 3 of them over there on that, and then, okay, so he keeps picking up his phone and then taking off mute and answering the question and then puts the phone back. Okay, no, go ahead, what were you saying? So obviously you can imagine that would be frustrating when you're like trying to talk or tell a story or share a conversation and the person keeps saying, oh, hold on 1 second, and taking their phone. I have to describe it because I know a lot of folks are listening and not looking at me demonstrate this for the YouTube folks, and taking their phone, okay, yeah, no, we're going to send that out next week. Okay, yeah, all right, great. Because how well or how much could they really be listening to you if they're listening to that call enough to know when they need to respond and answer that question that you weren't even listening to? So So at some point, he actually just go ahead and he kind of gives me a finger like, hey, give me 1 minute. And he gets up and he walks outside the restaurant to continue the conference call. The conference call went on. I think I was texting you this day from the restaurant.
Probably.
Yeah, the conference call went on over 45 minutes, at least. The food has been brought out. I have eaten my portion. The bill has been brought out. I am still sitting there. After about 45 minutes, he came back in and it's still on the phone, but now it's kind of trying to eat his food and then motions to the server, bring me a box. So at this point, what he doesn't realize is I done already paid the check and I'm about to walk out the door. When I say paid the check, she keep coming over. Where's your friend? He's outside on a call. Just go ahead and bring me the check. I'm about to walk out this door because in my mind, I was thinking I'm going to walk out of this door. He's going to be standing out there in the parking lot. He's going to see me walk past him and get in my car and get back on the road. Mm-hmm. But at some point of me making this plan, he came back in, sat down, continued his call. By the time he finished his call, according to my memory, I was just like, well, all right, then I guess I'll just check to you later kind of thing. Walk to my car. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Take care. Because at that point, I'm like, dude, like really? Mm-hmm. So as I drive my hour and a half back feeling like, okay, Buster Douglas, I'm like, did I do too much? Because I reached out to him. I made myself available and accessible to drive an hour and a half to have lunch with him. I sat there while he went outside. I paid for lunch, and then I went to hello. Now, the only reason this whole thing was brought back up to me, to my memory, because I can't believe we had 2 seasons of this show, and I've never talked about this date, is because I recently joined a new app, Clubhouse. You may have heard of it. And the first room I was ever in, somebody created a welcome room to welcome me to the app, and this guy comes into the welcome room. I have not talked to this guy since then. And so when I keep seeing his name in his welcome room, I was like, is there a way to delete people in the room? And they're like, no, whoever's listening, they can leave, whatever. So I finally said, well, it's this dude that's in this room. And I don't know if y'all know him. They didn't know him. I said, but this dude, I just only know him from having one of the worst dates in my life with him. And it's just weird that he's still sitting there. So then I proceeded to tell this story to the room. And he still was sitting there. He said he felt like he had apologized or, oh yeah, that was an L, but I've taken a lot more, W's. I'm like, obviously you had a lot more W's than L's because you thought that was something to do. This is a winner's move in a losing way. Mm-hmm. So, friend, was I doing too much from the rip? In hindsight, I would say I was. In the moment, I did not think I was, but looking back, I could say, yeah, no, you did too much.
It depends. So when y'all decided to go to lunch on his lunch break, how did that conversation happen again? Like, was it him saying, hey, you should come up here and go to lunch with me? Or
I don't want to make up.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that was introduced.
Yeah, because
it's something in the conversation about me getting off at noon, it could have easily been like, oh, well, we should grab lunch or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I don't think that's ever a good first date idea anyway.
What, lunch?
On somebody's lunch break. Yeah. I don't, you know what I mean? You can't really get to know anybody and blah, blah, blah.
But even still, a lunch break date was good. I thought a lunch break was a good idea because let's say it doesn't go well, not as unwell.
Well, that's true. That's true. I'm not saying daytime.
It's cheaper, cutoff time, daytime, in and out.
Yeah. So daytime is always good, but just then having to drive an hour and a half, that just kind of complicates things a little bit, I think. But, I've driven to see people for the first time because I prefer to see them in their, I prefer to have control of when I leave and all that kind of stuff. So I think the biggest mistake you made that day, and I probably told you, was paying for the lunch. I would have hurried and finished my food, grabbed my keys, and walked right by him.
You would have just dashed down and say, hey, work that out with the dude.
Probably would have ordered dessert to go.
Would have, and you could have given me a petty lesson on that one. You probably would have done that.
But
yes and yes. So the driving thing, because I'm talking about this was a couple of years ago. This was at least two and a half years ago, right? When this happened. And so I have different mindsets. I mean, you being my friend, you see me have a different mindset from Monday to Wednesday. Like, okay, no, I changed my mind. Everything I said Monday, I don't mean that no more. So that's why I'm trying to remember my mindset 2 years ago, because I know it's different now. However, I did just very recently drive 2.5 hours to meet somebody for the first time.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing. But here's the thing. I can't remember that far back the details. However, I feel like it was more of a it wasn't more so. It wasn't a date. I felt like it was more networking.
It was no romantic intention had been communicated.
That's what I was thinking.
Just met. It was kind of a light chatting thing. Okay, cool. Let's have lunch, whatever. So it wasn't like, well, why'd you have me? So because that's why there was no follow up on my end.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you talk to him afterwards? Did you say anything else to him afterwards? Do you remember communicating with him at all?
No.
And saying, hey, why would you do that?
More recently on that app when I was trying to figure out how
for him to say he thought he apologized, he knew better than that, right?
He said, yeah, he didn't try to defend it to the other people in the group. And they're like, what? This can't be what happened. He's like, oh, yeah, I took the L on that one or whatever. So, again, we had not set any romantic basis for our interactions. We had just met. It was really just look, I get off at noon.
It was just him being rude. That wasn't...
It was rude and disrespectful. Mm-hmm. And I just thought about something in talking about rude and disrespect, and that's a theme that we need to really, 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 really hone in on. And that might be the point of me telling this story. So many times in relationships, people are being disrespected. And they write it off as something else because it's, that's just how he is, or men aren't great communicators, or whatever. And it is one of my most recent previous relationships. A lot of the things that guy did was actually just downright disrespectful. It's things you would not do to a person you had any respect for, let alone your girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes we give coupons to people we are in relationships with because we write it off as that's just how they are. This guy on this date, that was just rude across the board. I don't care if we were meeting to do business. I don't care if we were meeting to take a DNA test to see if we was brothers and sisters. I mean, the whole thing was rude.
And even if it was a business call or a business meeting with someone of the same sex with another woman, it would still be just as rude. Here's my question,
and the follow-up confirmed the rudeness because there was no acknowledgement of, let me do this. Let me send you a gift card so you can go buy lunch in your town on me. There was no thought of, I feel horrible. Because seriously, if that dude sent me a link to a gift card to get a free lunch at home, I'd be like, okay, you know what?
At least he's acknowledging. He has a heart. Now, my question is this, because this doesn't really apply to this specific situation because you actually cut off communication. That was done. However, do we allow men to be more rude to us than we do women and other people in more non-romantic relationships?
Yeah, of course
because we don't put up with a lot of stuff for our friend, from our friends that I feel like we allow men to do sometimes.
Listen, we get mad at the doctor for keeping us waiting. We get mad at the long line at the Walmart. Like, no one likes to wait. No one likes to not have their phone. I called the cable company on Tuesday and they still ain't called me back. So we get upset about the moments that we have in relationships, but because we want it to be okay, because we're trying to understand what he went through today, because we're trying to understand that he didn't mean it, he really does care about me, and I'm blowing it out of proportion. And sometimes that partner will offer you that you are blowing it out of proportion. That partner will offer you that, no, it's not like that. And it's a natural reaction to anybody. I've had girlfriends that I won't even deal with anymore because they were rude, because they were consistently disrespectful of my time and energy, because they would not follow up on communications as they said they would. I don't care if you're man, woman, child. If you don't care enough about me and my time, and you know that I am hypersensitive about my time as a person I do spend time with, and we joke about you being late or whatever. And I will say, for the record, you have really been doing really great with your time. You just stepped that thing up. That was a challenge early in our relationship because I was like, now look, when we say this time, what do you hear?
Because you be extra early though.
Look, if you early, you on time. If you on time, you late.
And I don't live by that philosophy. Not when it comes to work and stuff, that's different. Yeah, I'm on time.
Right. So for me, I need to be there at 7:00, that means I know I back time. So this is how I back time being on time somewhere. If I have to be there at 7 and it takes me 30 minutes, or I at least give myself 30 minutes to get anywhere. It could be a 10-minute drive. I'm going to give myself 30 minutes. You do. And you arrive 20 minutes early. So now when you got to wait for me. I don't know what traffic's going to be. I don't know what the parking situation is going to be.
Yep,
exactly. I don't know nothing. So if it's 10 minutes away, I'm going to leave 30 minutes early.
And here's the difference. She lives in town, so it probably wouldn't take her but 10 minutes to get to anywhere where we're going. It's going to take me at least at the minimum 20, maybe 25. And I'm going to give myself
with no extenuating circumstances, it's going to take her at least 5 minutes to get in there. And then you don't even account.
But if she arrived 15 to 20 minutes early and then got to wait for me an extra 10 minutes behind what we were supposed to be there, then she already 30 minutes early.
We about to break up. That's what that tells you.
Well, you've been there 30 minutes. Ain't nobody tell you to get there 20 minutes early.
So since you know I'm like that, you know that in a dating situation, when I'm already looking at a dude's side eye because he's a dude, and I'm already like, he's specially qualified. It's next level. Mm-hmm. It's next level, especially when you set the time, you set the meeting point, you set what time I need to let you know. So, like you said, all these parameters that I abided by. And not only were you still 10 minutes late, you then totally disrespected the time it took for me to get there and the time it took for me to sit there.
Yeah.
Who does that? But we accept a lot of that rudeness because, it was just a bad first date. Or in a relationship, in one of my most recent relationships, the dude, ultimately, I had to come to grips with the fact that he did not respect me and my time because I would see how he would respond to work calls. I would even see how he would respond to family members' calls. He did not respond in that same energy to my calls or my texts. And I had to finally say, okay, this dude knows how to respond in a timely fashion. I had to say, this dude knows how to make somebody feel like he's in business. He would do things in business to keep the business going, to keep the business relationship going, and would not do those things in his personal relationship. So at some point, you got to stop giving a pass to just how people are and realize they actually really just don't have the basic levels of respect for you.
Right.
And a big part of you is your time because you can't.
You have to take it personal. You have to take it personal because that's one thing, like you said, with your most recent relationship. If he had shown or exhibited those signs throughout, like he's never responsive to emails at work, he never answers his work calls, he never responds to his family on time, then you can kind of say, okay, this is an overarching thing that we need to work on.
Right.
Period. Right. But when you see someone able to do those things in different settings and they don't do it to you, that's almost double disrespectful.
It's almost triple. Damn near quadruple.
Yeah.
Because you can see them know the importance of doing it.
Yeah.
You can see them know this is how they should handle that situation. So when outside of any relationship, that guy that I had that horrible lunch with, he would not handle a colleague like that. And I don't even know him. But if he is a man and he has gained any success in his business, his company, his workspace, he ain't treating his coworkers the way he handled me. Period.com.
I agree.
I can look back and say, I did too much. You say you only felt like I did too much because I paid for lunch. I can see that. But again, I didn't know what his plan was. And at the point that she kept coming back, I was like, for me, paying a check is I'm done. And I just said split the check. And, I just, at that moment, I'm not as petty as you. We know that. And so that would have been a petty move that would have been good. And I guess because I'm always kind of trying to be anti-petty, that I was just like, well, I can just pay it late, looking back, I shouldn't have paid.
And order that extra dessert too to go.
I should have the extra dessert to go. And so that's the thing that we have to look at. What is our effort that we put out initially, right? Because we want to, that was a new connection. We had no relationship.
Right. You have to pay attention to that initial effort and see if it's being reciprocated too. So, and I think we know, or maybe not. Maybe in that instance, like I said, I didn't think it was more so a romantic thing based on what he was doing in his career, and he was an interesting person to know. I think, or it seemed like it on paper.
He was a handsome, interesting person,
right? And then the fact that he was handsome,
connection, you don't know where it could go, right?
Yeah, the fact that he was handsome just helped out a little bit. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, let's speed this up. Let me go ahead and drive an hour and a half.
I didn't say that hour and a half like that. I feel like when you say an hour and a half, you have driven an hour and a half. Exactly. I know your road.
I said that.
I know your odometer. And I know your standard time. Go see about somebody. It's about an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's about it. I hop on a plane.
Okay, so, but when you look back, okay, so let me ask you this. Since you talking, since you mentioned a plane, Can you look back at any relationship? Because right now, I mean, I think we've covered a lot of themes that we'll follow up in other episodes about. It's about matching energy, right? And so you're like, okay, women, we tend to be so excited that we like somebody or we found somebody to have some attention into. We are more creative. We are more thoughtful. So I think by default, we naturally gonna do the most from the rip.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be a natural default mechanism is, I know what, he likes greens, I'll plant a garden of green beans. You know, it's whatever, okay? We do the most because that's who we are. Can you look back on any of your past relationships or situationships, or whatever you want to call them? Okay. You can say, you know what, I might have did the most. As far as matching energy.
Right.
Not just what you were naturally going to do anyway, and it wasn't, and that's the problem. That's why we usually can defend against doing the most, because it's like, it was Tuesday, I was going to do that anyway.
Right, you know? Right. And even the things we do is not even a big deal. Like you paying for
a big deal to us.
Not like you can not afford it.
But can you?
Not like you putting yourself out there.
It ain't nothing for us to do it, but I'm saying, can you look back and say, I might not have been matching the energy. That might have been too much based on the energy he was giving me. I may have been doing it. Now I have one in mind for you.
Maybe who's the one in mind?
What you gonna say?
I don't know. Who's the one in mind? Tell me. I probably agree. I
feel like the dude that you had gotten them personalized golf balls and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna mention him. I forgot about that part. But that was for his birthday. I did something nice
for your birthday.
We weren't even together when my birthday.
That's my point. Matching energy. That's what I'm saying.
Back when my birthday rolled around and we were done.
Matching energy.
Yeah, that's true. So because we weren't together for my birthday. But he actually
y'all was together on your birthday.
Well, no, we weren't. I was talking to somebody else.
Okay.
No, I remember it was the same year. But yeah, he he lived like in Montana. I can go ahead and put that out there. Y'all don't know who that person is.
He lived in Montana, y'all. Well, she keep calling out my hour and a half.
I took a whole trip.
Why she calling out my hour and a half drive? She went to Montana, y'all.
I took a whole trip to see him.
In Montana, y'all.
Don't act like she wasn't encouraging me. Y'all know she was.
Hey, I'm all for it if it's gonna work.
So anyway, but I don't regret that. I don't regret the trip or anything like that. But yeah, I did. But I think it was around, he had just moved. He had just got a new job. And that's where his energy was. His energy wasn't on me. And so I sent him like a birthday welcome to work your new job thing. I did that. But we weren't together.
But you did.
You know what I mean? And so that's where I messed up because we weren't together. And I was doing, and I've told people this. I heard this girl say this on the podcast the other day. I can't be a girlfriend. She's married. She told her husband this. I'm not good at being a girlfriend. I'm a wife. Right. So you got to figure out what space you want me in because I can't. And I think that's kind of how we are.
Well, let me ask you this though. How would you know that you can't be a girlfriend? You can be a wife when you ain't never been a wife.
I don't know. Well, I think that's what she's saying, like, because there are certain things that in her mind, she was saying there are certain things that should be only reserved for your husband. And not just talking about like sex or anything like that, but just the things you do for your family and stuff like that. And that connection makes you, go out of your way and make sure they feel good at the end of the day. Whereas, girlfriends or people you talk to, really, not necessarily girlfriends, we sometimes get an attachment to men who are not committed to us, but we're still acting like we're in a committed relationship. And I think that's where
the problem with that is our minds are set to, but me being this way will lead to that connection or attachment, or that's just how I am. Like I can't halfway interact with people. If I care about you and I know something's important to you, I'm going to show up and make it important. And we got to figure out, like, what is the balance?
Case in point, when we try to build our teams, how many times have we tried to build a team and it's not being a player, it's not doing that, it's just having people who you enjoy doing things with, multiple people, not just one.
And then we say build our teams, y'all. She's talking about our rotation of 2 to 3 men that we are dating.
Right. But how many times have we tried that and failed? Because we get attached to that one person, and that's where I don't have the mind capacity. Yeah, I'm talking about you. I'm not judging you though. I don't have the mind capacity to extend the type of energy that it takes for more than one person.
Right. Yeah, she trying to call me out. Let me just say that she is trying to call me out, and I peeped it because I recently was proclaiming from the mountaintop. Ain't nobody about to get this kind of energy from me again. You can get a little bit over here, a little bit over there, a little bit over there. And I think that's how we should be. I know we have talked about being that way. I know we aspire to be that way. But it's a couple things that tend to get in the way of being that way. Number one, the pool is shallow. You can see the bottom from here.
Yes.
So by the time you fish something out of this dirty community pool to date and pick the leaves off of it.
By the time you hose it down.
And scrape the algae off in a community pool. Algae in a community pool. Okay. And get the mildew smell out of it. Yeah, that's the one you go like for a while. That's the one. That one. You did, okay? So just logistically, it's a struggle for me. We have struggled building. I see people do it all the time. And from a distance, it seems like I wish I could figure out how to do this rotation. You trying to call me out is very valid because what I have realized most recently, and I have very valid points, I am all over the place. For me, I can see that I'm all over the place, that I can really, really, really know what I want and how I feel Monday morning at 10 a.m. And I will really, really, really completely feel something totally different by 2:15 the same day. And I'm allowing myself the space to say, what do I feel most often? Because day to day, what do I consistently feel the most?
But it's not that you just change your mind, because a lot of people change their mind. But when you do change your mind, it's an all in 100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't half-ass nothing.
It's not half. It's not going to be no half thought about it.
I can tell you, I will never, ever, 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 ever do that. And when I decide I am, we going to do it every day till it gets done. And I know that about myself, but I don't half-ass things. I'm going to show up early. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm committed to it. Let me tell you something professionally I've noticed in this space of people being a lot more virtual ever. And I've even had to check myself. I've had so many people reach out to me with projects they would like for me to assist them with. And you know this. Some of them I told you about, some of them I haven't shared with you. But what I've noticed is people will say, I want to do this and this and this. And they reach out to me and I would love for you ever. And I say, cool. Well, first of all, by the time they don't ask me what's my fee, I already know I'm probably not about to do this. Because if you ask me to do this, you need to say, send me what you charge for this. When they don't even say that, I say, wow, thanks for thinking of me. This sounds like an interesting project. I don't offer them no fee. I don't offer them nothing I'm going to do. At least 3 of those things, I ain't never heard from them people ever again. Because if you want me to do something, one, this is your thing. So either you need to keep calling me saying, hey, I need you today, or hey, I need to follow. Once you put it out there, that's your project. I don't have no attachments to your project. I can tell you why that's so great. Thanks for thinking of me. I don't care nothing about what you talking about.
Right.
I've even learned in this space that people who have wanted to pay me or have paid me to be a part of their projects, I don't love your project like I love my project. I don't even need to take your little bit of money no more because this ain't my heart. So professionally, I'm not that way, and I'm learning how to be more that way professionally. But personally, oh, child, either I am never go speak to you again, or I just got your name tattooed on my shoulder blade. We go hard or we don't go at all, baby. Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's all right. That's all right. I wouldn't say judge your mama, but I know your mama listening. So you find somebody else to judge. Okay, look in the mirror. A mirror.
So, okay, back to this date. So what were your lessons learned from this experience?
And that's what I want to figure out. Okay, I hadn't even remembered the experience until recently. Number one, I would still make the travel effort if I felt like the person earned it. I can look back and say maybe this person had not earned that travel effort. Based on our casual, general interactions to that point, I did not think that was going to be a waste of gas and time because I did not know how it was going to turn out. So now I think I would probably have not made that effort at whatever point that we did, because the way that lunch went, it tells me that if I had known him for 1 week longer, I wouldn't have made the drive. You know, maybe if I had communicated with him just a little bit longer, these traits would have shown up in the conversation and it wouldn't have been worth it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, but I would still drive. I mean, like I said, I recently drove 2.5 hours to meet somebody, and I'm glad I did. It was great. So I would let somebody earn my effort. Mm-hmm. And then I learned to not pay the bill and order dessert to go and walk out the door. I learned be more petty. Number 2. I know you won't be more petty to be number 1. Be more petty, number 2. And I would say to round it out for number 3, I will generally, if it's not a matter of my first effort has to be in response to their initial effort. So the initial effort was still on me on Facebook. And so if their initial effort wasn't there, I got to respect that.
Right.
This wasn't their idea.
Yeah. We've talked about this before. Huh?
Are those the right answers, Coach?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah. No, the only other question I was going to ask was, is it our responsibility? And we've discussed this before. Is it our responsibility? Are we letting them off the hook when we don't acknowledge their wrongs? Or is it one of those things where I don't want you to know that was a problem? Like, how do we address the man after that? Like, what's the best option for that?
I don't know.
Because it's like, you don't want him to think, oh, she really wanted me.
Right. Oh, wow, I broke her heart and now she's saying I should do this. It's like, no, it ain't about me and you. Me and you is a non-thing. We will never be, obviously.
Maybe that's how you started.
But for the next one, for the next woman, all I can do is look out for the next sister that might catch your name on Facebook. You need to be communicative, and if you need to cancel or change plans, say that. Now, I think that's a whole nother episode, men not want to communicate a change in plans. Because
it is.
They get real hung up on, well, this was the plan, and even though the plan has changed, I will not communicate that. We're gonna call that episode calling audibles at the line. Okay. Don't have me running the wrong routes. Okay. But it's hard to know. It's hard to know because I ain't never gonna speak to you again. Right,
and you want it, but you want it to be.
I don't want to leave you out here to do this again because ain't nobody.
That's what I'm saying. You want it to be beneficial. You want it to be a lesson learned.
Right, out here running around being unchecked.
Right.
But if you check them, will they even hear it? If they did it in the first place, checking them is what? It's like checking my left foot. And you know what my left foot said? Who gonna check me, boo? Like it's gone. It don't even matter. So I feel like I'm not gonna give myself the aggravation and frustration and thinking I'm about to make this grown adult person have an understanding they should have had from birth.
Yeah.
But then again, we do need to start taking on the responsibility to check these dudes for the next one. Not for us, but for the next one. I don't know. Maybe we just...
And maybe it's just something simple. Maybe it's just like, that was absolutely not cool for you to do for anybody. So I hope you don't treat people like that in the future.
Well, since I recently relayed the story of the bad date to the guy in front of an audience, I don't know if he went out of that room and out of that conversation. He said he does take that as an L, but he has so many more W's. And I was like, obviously. But maybe he could take that and say, wow, that really was jacked up. He might know never to say nothing to me. I'm not the person to even try to apologize or make it up to. He might know all of that. But maybe there could be a dream or a hope that there is something new in him that has been informed to not be like that.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do is say, hope and dream and pray. But I'm going to go ahead and drop his name so y'all don't hit him. I'm joking. We know we don't do male bashing or full exposures here, but Patreon, we do. We give full names and addresses on Patreon. We do. But we don't do that here because we want everyone to feel welcomed and listened to and heard and validated, which is also not true. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna say out of a scale of 1 to 10 of doing the most. And wait, you did receive that you were doing the most with Montana? Montana, you said you were doing the most? Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, am I doing the most since it didn't involve a plane or personalized golf balls? I'm gonna give myself a 5 out of 10.
I did not count that plane. I do not count that plane because he did come visit me on a couple of occasions while he was still living down here. That was just like our next, thing. Like he made the initial effort. He did all that.
So again, I will hop on a plane right now to go see about something.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't count the plane part. I do count the golf ball.
I count Montana more than the plane. Honestly.
No, I I like to travel anyway. I like to travel anyway, so that was like not a big deal.
That is the problem. You are a thoughtful person. You put stuff together. You think of
Yes. And by the time you do it and they don't appreciate it, it's like it makes it double.
Right. It makes you feel like, well, and we don't want to go around being lesser of our wonderful selves because we know they don't know how to receive. I mean, so it's really a case by case situation. But ultimately, I guess if we were going to try to offer some kind of insight from our experiences, is even if you go do the most because that's just how you were born, it's got to be in response to their effort. It's got to be in response to their communication. Mm-hmm. It's got to be in response to what they are saying they are looking at you for.
Right.
It still could be all a crock.
And you should give them the opportunity, like in your case, give them a week to see, give them the opportunity to show themselves first before we make an effort.
Okay, and this will lead us to another episode about when we do online dating, how much time do we need to have between the initial connection to meeting? Because we know we've seen.
Well, I think it's case by case, but if they show themselves pretty early, I mean, obviously it could all be a lie. You don't know that. But it
could all be you.
But it could be a lie for a month or it could be a lie for 3 days. You don't know, but you want them to at least make the effort. Regardless of
it. Well, we got a lot of episodes to hit this year, so we gonna talk about it all. We appreciate y'all listening. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also send us a note if you have an interesting relationship story or some hard lessons that you learned or some lessons you have taught, inadvertently or otherwise. Please hit us up in our inbox, and we'd love to have you on as a guest on the next episode of. Oh no, he didn't.
Girl. Yes, he did.